Looks like first we have a release update on 1.8.0. We have a couple of issues that have been identified, and looks like they have path to be documented and fixed. So you can see those here. We don't have the actual links to the issues or the PRs, but there's progress on these. So if you have questions on these, please check in and we'll help you. On Kubeflow 1.9, we're forming the release team. We need to get the working groups to think about what their roadmap items will be. And we're looking for folks to join the release team meetings, which are on Monday. We do need a release team manager, and we do need the whole release team formed. So that if you want to be a product manager, if you want to be a liaison, please join that call. The other thing is, I did see that there was a video that was created on 1.8.0. If you have not seen that video, David, I think you're on now. If folks haven't seen that video, it was really informative. Had a lot of stuff in there that I didn't even realize that we had done, or at least was explained in a way that was new to me and valuable. So we're hoping to get that posted on Kubeflow YouTube channel. And we have a link to that, and I believe we need someone from Google to help with the posting of that. Is that right, David?
If you get that posted, I'll embed that on the front page of the website as well.
It is already on the YouTube channel. I'm planning to create the commit for because also we'll fix the branch release. So the 1.8 link, it's correct. But yeah, it's already on the YouTube channel.
Do you have the link?
Yep, just give me 1 second.
Okay, David, anything else you want to give an update on?
No, probably is that thank you for everyone in the last 2 weeks that that bear with me with slides, videos, everything that I ask. And I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, so that was one other question. I think there was a link to slides and there's a link to the YouTube, right? So do we have actually the slides that were used in the presentation as well?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But I'm going to post it on the document right now.
All right, great. I think that helps some of the teams that are trying to present what Kubeflow is and where it's going. I have to tell you, folks, if you have not reviewed that video, if you haven't, there's a lot in 1.8. It's remarkable. Okay, let's keep going. CNCF adoption, graduation items. Who's got this one? I know Anna was kind of helping with this. Did anybody kind of pick this up and is helping with this one right here?
I am. I'm gonna do the PR for the images and then expand the other items on the checklist.
All right. What help do you need with that?
You know, I don't know. I'm just trying to get through the summit stuff and elections right now, and then I'll come back around probably Thursday. I'll take a look at the graduation items and expand that. And since we're moving the security meeting to every other Tuesday, the first and third Tuesdays, I think we should move a graduation meeting to the second and fourth Tuesdays ahead of this meeting. That's my proposal. So starting January, we have a second and fourth, a bi-weekly meeting about the graduation items, because it is a lot, especially if you look at the badging that we need, not only for security, but for the project as a whole. That badging checklist is very extensive, and I'd like to go over it with everybody in January.
Okay.
I think a few of the items were assigned to Red Hat. We reached out to Anna on Slack, and so a couple of those graduation items we took on as well. I think.
So Anna was
Yeah.
working on, so I think there's a little bit of confusion. Anna was working on the items still left over from onboarding into where we went.
That's a good point, and I think
Yeah.
I think the discussion was like, well, we can't get to graduation until we finish these onboarding ones. It felt
Exactly.
to me
So
like, okay.
yeah, so Anna was working on that piece of it, and I was working on the graduation specific list. And I'm finishing the logos, so I'll get those and I'll push that PR later this week. And then the other items that you all were doing as part of the onboarding. And so there's two lists that's going on, Josh. One is onboarding, which is the items left over from our initial introduction or induction into the CNCF. And then there's the next phase of graduation items. So if you could just put a tab there that's CNCF onboarding items, we can go back after the meeting and add those.
Great, okay.
But just to confirm, Amber, that meeting you're proposing on January will be to discuss both onboarding and graduation items?
Yeah, so in January, whatever's not left on the onboarding, we'll take a look at, and then we'll also take a look at everything that's needed for the graduation items. Because at
All
this,
right.
we have to do both to get there. So, and I'm glad that you're on the call and that you're participating. I'm excited to see you here, Ricardo. And so I think then, you know, after we come out of the holidays, everybody will have fresh eyes and, you know, hopefully re-energized, and we can just start knocking these out.
Okay, so may I consider that hold up on the graduation items until January to start working on them?
Well, I'm already working on the graduation items because the security stuff is so complicated. So I'm already working with Emily on getting through the security stuff. So we're going to be doing it in parallel. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, may I ping you after meeting to
Sure.
get some more updates on some of the tasks I'm working?
Of course.
All right, cool. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Somebody keeps changing these things and moving this around. Okay, let's talk about the steering committee elections. I'm going to keep this moving a little bit faster today. We have this timeline. Do you want to go over this, David, Amber?
Sure. And many thanks to David for helping me get the list together and helping push some of the PRs that we had to do in order to get this done. So right now we're in the exceptions phase. So we've published the list of those who are eligible to vote and those who are eligible to be nominated. They're the exact same list with the exception in this case of David and I. David and anybody who's an election official is ineligible to be nominated and run for a seat in an election that they are administering. So we can vote, but we can't be nominated. So you'll see those lists and those that list is in the elections folder in the Kubeflow community elections, Kubeflow community repo under the elections folder. I've also put links down below. The guidelines have also been published. So this week, if you feel like your name should have been on that list because you have significant contributions that weren't able to be calculated in GitHub, for example, you've answered, 100 questions. I say 100, that's exaggeration, but you're active on Slack and you're helping onboard people and you're answering questions and you think that should be considered, or you've helped plan meetups, or you've helped, do something that's not able to be measured inside of GitHub, then there is an exceptions form. Just fill that form out, David, and I'll take a look at it. And see if it does meet the criteria. So this week is for you all to take a look at that list, and if you feel like you should have been eligible to vote or be nominated, please fill out that exceptions form. It's also on Kubeflow Discuss in 2 different emails. Those emails are linked, and we also now have a Slack channel for this election where you can ask questions as well. The next phase will be nominations, and that'll be a 2-week period. And then from there, we'll go to testimonials. So you can add your positive endorsement of any candidate that's been voted. And as we approach these phases, we'll send out more information. And then the voting phase. The voting phase will be for 3 weeks because of holidays and everything else. And then at the end of January, we'll announce the election results for these 3 seats that are open. So so that's the timeline in a nutshell.
Okay, and we have about 59 people, is that right, that are eligible to vote?
Yeah, I believe it's something like that. Just shy of 60. Yep.
Okay, anything else that we need to talk about the elections? Okay. We have all the details on there. We want to talk about KubeCon?
Sure. Myself and Ricardo, I don't forget his last name. He's the one that helped us get into the CNCF. He's the talk member. He and I are co-chairs of this event, this co-located event at KubeCon. We've had 22 submissions, and voting is underway by that committee. I don't know all the talks that were like, I don't have all the list of all the talks that were submitted. And this is a little bit different. We don't have a lot of play like we had before, where Josh and I could be like, oh, we're going to change we need your talk to be 15 minutes. So this person, like, we don't have that leadway. And I'm working with the CNCF to figure out how we can have a little bit more leadway in our schedule. But for now, that voting is underway, and I think it's the 13th. We have to have our voting done, and then everybody should be notified if you submitted a talk. So just know that that's underway, and we have 22 submissions.
Okay, so is it closed? Is the CFP closed?
It is. It is. Yep. It closed on the 3rd.
What happened here? We lost where we were. So now it keeps moving on me. Okay, we had some Kubeflow presentations at KubeCon 2023 in Chicago. I believe Andre had a presentation here. We had another one. Who's this one by Alex Jones? And then another one from Roland and a perv.
Yeah, I think I've added this item. So I would suggest, like, if you saw any good presentation during the KubeCon in Chicago, please update this this doc, and we can add it to the appropriate working group or appropriate component under Kubeflow, because it was a lot of excitement around Kubeflow during this KubeCon, and I think we should show what kind of integrations people do with the Kubeflow. So if you see any good presentations, please update it here, and then we can edit somewhere.
These are YouTube recorded presentations, correct?
Yeah. It's like from some of them from the co-located event, some of them from the main conference. So I didn't check all of the recordings because there are a lot of talks, as you know, like during the KubeCon and the co-located events. But if I miss something here, just let me know.
Got it. Okay, fantastic. Great work for everybody who is out there at KubeCon in Chicago. It would be good to get a recap on how Kubeflow was received. Maybe we can ask for that in the next meeting. But as we continue to do more KubeCons, sometimes the US is different than Europe. And if you're doing a co-located event, it's different than if you're not. But it's a lot of time and effort for people to go to KubeCon. And I want to make sure that people get their time and effort back out of it, right? The value is so.
Josh, one more thing about KubeCon, if I may.
Go ahead.
I've asked the CNCF if we could have a booth in the project pavilion. They're working on the form, and they should be sending me that form to fill out between mid and late December. So I will apply for that as soon as I get the form to see if we can have a booth. And if we are able to have a booth in the project pavilion, we'll need people to help staff that booth. So if you or your organization are going to be there and you'd like to help staff a Kubeflow booth, please let me know, because I'm sure that'll be part of the questionnaire, is if do we have people to work that booth. And so just think about that, and please let me know. Also, I just dropped the link for Kubeflow Summit that we had in Dallas. I just dropped the link in chat for all the videos. We have to re-record one of them, but for the most part, they're all there. And Matthew, if you'd like, I can link those to each of the talks and push that PR later this week. If you don't have bandwidth, just let me know.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty crazy busy at the moment. If you
Okay.
want to, some of that agenda didn't quite end up being exactly what happened. So you might need to also update it to make it kind of what happened.
Okay, cool. That'll work.
All right, let's talk about the model registry proposal review. Can we kind of cover this in 3 minutes or so? Who's got this one?
Yeah, I can take that one, Josh. So as we were discussing last couple of weeks, there is a proposal we have put together in the link documentation. And also, we scheduled a meeting for December 13th. That's 1 week from today on the Wednesday. It's same time as this meeting is. Its basic purpose of that meeting is to go over, very high level on the proposal, and basically like a Q&A session, rather than, making it as a more of a walking through the document kind of a session. So if you can take, a few minutes of your time and, go through the proposal and have any questions that you have, then come to that meeting, and then we can have a discussion about there. Our objective is to go through this proposal, answer any questions that community has, and put it for a vote, whether we want a model registry solution in the Kubeflow community, and if we do, then what are the next steps for us to contribute, start contributing towards that, right? That's our intentions, and hope you guys, we can take we can come and into the community and start building the solution. Obviously, this is the initial proposal that came up from our thoughts behind it, and if there are suggestions to improve that upon this proposal, yeah, we are open for that. It's not that it's a locked in proposal or such anything like that. So we are open to hear more discussions on it.
The main thing that's like conspicuously missing is any mention of alternatives. So like I want to see stuff like we've looked at these approaches, because like it's showing alternatives shows that you've considered things and rejected things, which is good. And also I think there's also one, like, I mean, as we're seeing with other projects that are being donated, I'm not saying there's any in this particular case that could be donated, but like, is there any model registries which might be a better fit than building one from scratch that we could accept a donation from? This kind of thing.
Sure. We have done extensive research on the alternative solutions when we started at Red Hat, when we started looking into the solutions. I can add a section on a couple of the, few of those, and what we thought and why we didn't go that route. I can certainly add that section into it. Matthew.
Also within your own architecture. That's the other thing as well. Just like kind of, this is like just a few basic things like, yeah, we rejected this approach. Like, because it helps the reader understand what the potential alternatives were. Why you rejected them, which also prevents us building them accidentally.
Yeah, for example, I think MLflow could be quite interesting. And I also want to highlight that the second part of the PR is very interesting because it finally adds some multi-tenancy for ML metadata and therefore Kubeflow pipelines on the storage level.
Yeah, like so. Yeah, like so. There's two kinds of alternatives. There's alternative projects that exist, and then there's alternative designs that you considered. And those, we don't need extensive stuff. It's more like just showing that at least a little bit of thought was put into what, because like there could be the case that maybe there was just some basic solution that you didn't think of. You know, like it's not likely, but it's possible.
Okay, so next Wednesday, same bat time, same time as this. Here's a request to the community. It would be great to have an anchor customer user or two. It's great to have distributions and vendors moving this forward. I think that's fantastic to have them as anchors, but I think when we've seen like in some of the other working groups, when we've had an end user step up and be part of the design, part of the testing, it really does make a difference. And so a lot of the users over time have asked for this, and here's a chance for you to provide your input and perhaps be involved in the development of it. So please support that meeting next week and review the proposal.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
Is there a way to reach out to the survey respondents who indicated they'd be interested in that?
Yeah, I think that would be a valid request. Let me see if we can get a hold of that data. Anna was kind of really helping with a lot of that, and now that she's moved along, we'll have to find another resource to kind of see if we can segment that out. But I think that's a great point, that if people have been asking for it, even on the survey, we should make sure that they're aware of this meeting. So I'll take that as a to-do, and I'll see if we can get that kind of worked out here in the next few days. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so we have some customers that were obviously interested in this, which was why we were bringing it up anyway. But I think the survey respondents will be more broad than Red Hat's customer base, and that's key to the Kubeflow and open source angle of it. So I don't want to. I want that participation and kind of, man, if we can get a customer zero out of that, it would be fantastic in the community to bang on it.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I think in fact, I think it's vital. It's almost a prerequisite that we have an end user be involved for a lot of reasons.
Well, and we still and there's still the one hard blocker, which is that there's still only Red Hat names on that list.
Well, there's IBM too. I'm smiling.
You make me laugh, Josh.
I'm looking at it. So that's a second organization myself. All right, let's keep going, but those are good points, Matthew. I agree. The Spark operator proposal. Andre, can you kind of give us an update where we're at with this?
Yeah, Josh, can we speak at this at 45 so a few folks can join so we can move on and then get back to things.
All right, do we want to talk about the Cloudflare demo?
Yeah. I think I just want to say quickly about it. So thank you, Red Hat, so much for attending this call. I think it was really exciting to see the Cloudflare live. For anyone else who just want to see the demo, please check this recording. We kind of have this demo during the AutoML and training working group call just to see what kind of potential collaboration we can do there. So the main focus was there just to use this Cloudflare SDK on top of Ray to build simple SDK for data scientists to create their models. I think we need to investigate how we can integrate various Kubeflow SDKs within Codeflare, or maybe like create a layer between Ray and maybe, Kubeflow components, right? Because today, there is no really an easy way for users who want to use Ray in Kubernetes cluster to interact this with the Kubeflow APIs or Kubeflow components. I know I have some integration with notebooks, but I think there is much more that we can do there. Yeah, because especially Ray is like mostly used for data preparation. So just to see how we can collaborate there would be fantastic, I think. But please check this recording, and if you want to be involved, let me know, so we can continue investigate these things.
Okay, so that's Codeflare. And when is the next AutoML training group, working group meeting? Is that next?
Yeah, I think it's next Wednesday, but it will be Asia and Europe Pacific time zone. Yeah, it's 11 a.m. UTC.
Okay, so fairly early for folks in the States, right?
Yeah, I think maybe like the East Coast can try to attend, but still will be early.
Okay, do we want to talk about the LLM API proposal, or is that good enough for Codeflare, or do we need to have more here? Are we ready to move on?
Yeah, do you have anyone from Red Hat who just want to say something else like for this meeting or for the demo?
Well, I'm working on Codeflare, one of the people working on it. So, again, seconding everything you said, Andre, we're very interested in investigating further and figuring out how we can better integrate with Kubeflow.
Yeah, thank you, Anish. All right, so for LLM, I think we kind of finalized the proposal for training operator, and we already started to do some initial implementation for this. So this proposal, I think it was merged a few minutes ago. So if you still have any questions or comments, you can just continue to review this PR, and we can update the proposal. But the main idea is just to provide a very simple API for Kubeflow users to do the fine tuning for large models using the Hugging Face model provider and different data providers. So basically, they build abstractions on top of the Hugging Face trainer and give you the quick access to the foundation models. So initial idea was to just have an access for Hugging Face models, Hugging Face registry, but we're looking forward to see how we can expand this for maybe Kaggle registry or any other open source foundation models that we can use to fine tune them using training operators. Because I think, as I mentioned before, training operators has really kind of powerful tool to do large scale training. And if we're going to give users very simple API, they can do much more with this. So we're just looking forward to the implementation in this effort, mostly driven by Nutanix folks. So I'm excited to see what we can do in 1.9 of Kubeflow release.
Okay, so let me see if I understand this correctly. You want to use a foundation model. This API allows you to train that model with your own data. What exactly is the value of what this API is going to do for you? And is this training going to happen on your own infrastructure? I assume, is this for people on-prem, or it could be in the cloud, either one, but what do they get out of this, right?
Yeah, it's for people who just run Kubeflow anywhere, whether it is on-prem or third-party cloud. We just, instead of data scientists ask them to build the Docker files and the YAMLs and initialization containers, we just provide them the simple SDK Python API so they can use to fine-tune the foundation models. So they specify the path to the dataset, the path to the foundation model, the parameters for the trainer, and then they just use training operator machinery to fine-tune this model on their infrastructure.
Wow.
Yeah, you can do everything right now, but you have to build these layers inside your containers. But we just build a high-level API, basically, if that makes sense. Yeah, and we also like
Oh.
look. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying like, so is this going to be like just a Python library? Is that all it is, or is there some other component?
Yeah, we also like looking to see how we can like implement the storage initializer, like similar to Kserve. So in Kserve, they have this kind of like storage initializer to upload your model on the inference, on the line inference. So we need to build this initializer for distributed TF job or PyTorch job, right? As a init container. So in addition to SDK changes, we need to do some changes for the control plane as well, right? Because we need to download the model, we need to distribute this model to the multiple workers. Also, we need to download the dataset, distribute the dataset via like PVC, and then just do the training, right? So we kind of like abstract all this like kind of like infrastructure layer from the users. So they only focusing on the parameters and the API access, right?
By the way, is there any chance that someone from the training operators group could write an introduction page for their component section on the website? Because there's no introduction page right now.
Yeah. So Matthew, I will try to do this like I hope like by the holidays. So we
That's
definitely
fine. Yeah.
yeah,
Like, you know how we have like a link on the front page? I'd like to put it towards an introduction, you know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, I think we definitely need an introduction page for the training operator.
So yeah, I did a bit of cleanup that will help people find the training operator, which
Right.
is that's that second yellow PR there for external add-ons. It also cleans up it also adds the GitHub repos as a link on the sidebar to for every single component.
Yep.
So that should help people find the training operator at least. But because right now it could be a little bit hard. But it's yeah, I'd love to have an introduction because you're the only component which doesn't really have an introduction.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we will do it.
So I want to just touch base one last time on this LLM thing before we give up on that, because I think there's going to be investment in LLM model development in 2024. People are probably working on their budgets and they're trying to figure out how they're going to effectively train their models, fine tune their models. How significant is this, Andre, in terms of, do you believe, time savings? This seems like it says all the right things, right? In terms of making the LLM ops process more efficient.
Yeah, so I would say, where it is LLM, where it is LVM, like, like the new term about large vision models. I think like, as I said, like as me and Jonas said a couple of times before, the training operator is very scalable by itself. We've been focusing on two kind of aspects, using Torch Run for the PyTorch training or using DeepSpeed with MPI for MPI training. So we spoke with many customers who are using Kubeflow in production, and they say like whether it's MPI and PyTorch is the right tool to do large model training. And I think when we build this API on top of SDK, more people can try this out. And just to see the like maybe just do some benchmarking, how easy it is to do this, how fast it is, how it's scalable and cost efficient, right? But at the end, like we're still kind of using the underlying distributed guidelines from the PyTorch or from MPI or from other like well-known open source ML frameworks to do large model training, right? But I think like we just need to give the user, the data scientists and researchers, the capabilities to try this out instead of like, like asking them to understanding the Kubernetes and other complexities they have today with Kubeflow, right? I hope that makes sense, Josh. Like, we just need to see more kind of feedback from end users on this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling in two ways because this looks like super valuable, but is this something that the people that are actually building the foundation models would be interested in, and or is this for enterprises who are trying to fine tune? Because I see those as almost two different markets. So you have people that are building the Falcons, the Llamas, that stuff, and all the people that are following them. And then you have the people that are taking those models and fine tuning them for their own enterprise type of applications. Where should we target this?
So this specific API just to do the fine tuning directly, not like building the model from scratch. But the training operator also can be used to build the large models from scratch, right? Like I spoke with many people during the KubeCon who using API in deep speed to train 60 billion parameters model from scratch. And it's very like efficient, because of the API capabilities. But this is more about like how you can quickly use Kubeflow to, to fine tune your models and maybe, like fine tune on your own data set, or maybe just to see how well training operator works within these large models, right? Whether it is GPT or Llama or anything else, right? Yeah, so we're going to investigate, but this is just a small, very initial step, right, to move forward.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I mean, the one thing is the people that are building those models, whether GPT-J or whatever, they're spending a lot of money and investing a lot of time and effort. I wonder if they're that efficient or as efficient as what Kubeflow does. It would be an interesting use case. Anyway, I got where we're headed. Anything else on this? Or I would like to spend, let me just put an aside here. I would like to spend at least a little time on LLMs in every call. So, if people have topics like this that they can bring up around LLMs, I'd like to carve out 5 minutes at least in every one of these calls to talk about LLMs at a minimum.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope I can ask John and other folks from Nutanix to speak more about it, from their side, because this effort is driven by them mostly.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, Matthew, you have a lot of items. Let's pick them off and see what we need to do.
Yeah, these two are really important because they both, the top one is by far the most important, the yellow one at the top. So that one needs to happen today or now, as long as Amazon doesn't suddenly change of heart in the middle of this call. Because they are a legacy distribution now.
I'm going to question this a little bit, right? Because 1.8.0 just came out, right?
No, they've explicitly said they're not going to support 1.8. That's a bit different. So I update so that PR also makes it so also because I understand that this is going to cause confusion because of the naming of the distributions. This PR also puts a warning on the installing Kubeflow page, which says just because the name, don't get confused with the name Kubeflow on X, because that's not the only way of deploying on X. That's what I did put a warning on the page as a result, because it was a bit confusing for new users otherwise. It's even more confusing if they come to use the distribution that is no longer supported, which is what's currently happening. I'm already seeing people getting angry in the issue trackers.
Is it not supported on 1.7?
It's not supported at all. As far as I can tell, they're no longer developing it at all.
Okay, but those are two different statements.
They're definitely not responding to their issue tracker anymore.
Here's my concern, Matthew, is I think you're being a little aggressive on pushing this on one of our major contributors to the community, right? They've given us a lot over the years, and they go through, they're a big organization. They're going through a lot. We may want to give them a little time before we put them in a place that legitimately.
Yeah, I'm open to that, but I have reached out to them directly, right? And they have confirmed that this is the case, and also they publicly stated it as well. It's just the issue is that it hurts the project because so many people use Amazon, and so many people are going to assume that Amazon isn't supported on 1.8, and that or just have a bad experience because they're not supporting it. It's the big problem is that if their name was anything else, right? If it was Amazon's distribution of Kubeflow, or if it was Amazon Kubeflow service or something, then it would be fine. But the problem is because it says Kubeflow on AWS, almost everyone there's no ambiguity that people assume that it's. So if you do want to give them until next year to change their heart, I can make a separate version of that PR which just puts the warning on the page, because we do need to put that warning up there because it is ambiguous right now.
are they replying to you?
So the last communication that I had was over LinkedIn with the lead of that team, who confirms that they're no longer supporting it. But they also, in that PR, I linked to the issue on the AWS Kubeflow manifests repo, where Suraj said. So I'm a bit confused why they would choose not to support it, but it's their own prerogative, obviously. I think it's probably I've been seeing a bit of talk from Amazon overall as a speculative about them pulling back on open source projects they perceive to be owned by one vendor, but I don't think that applies to Kubeflow. So,
All right, I understand your and our motivations for this.
I can make a version of that
I
PR
want
which
to
just
tread
puts
a
the
little
warning.
lightly. I think you understand why, right?
Yeah, of course.
I'll reach out to a couple of people and I'll ask them if they could reply to this and give us some direction about what they want us to do. Because I think your comments are correct. I think in two ways, we do need to support, the community needs to support and have ways for users to find support for Kubeflow on Amazon. Right, that we need up-to-date support options. And I think there's plenty of people in the community that will help users do that if they need help.
Yeah, and it's just really, really hard to compete with the fact that the name is incredibly misleading.
Yep. Okay, I got it. Okay.
And so what I'll do is I'll raise a separate PR that we can merge today that doesn't actually move Amazon, but does put the warning which says distributions are named in a slightly confusing way. Please understand the difference. Like it's on that PR, but you know what I mean? I think because that's also helpful.
All right. What do you want to do on this next one?
The next one is really cool, and I don't think anyone's going to have any problem with this one. This one is I went through the external add-on section and cleaned it up. So I've given every project that is still maintaining support for Kubeflow a top-level section on the website. The main thing is that as I was saying to the training operator people before, as part of this, I've added links to the external website of the tool as long as they maintain a distribution. So on the introduction section of each one of them, what it tries to do is it says, what is this tool? And then it says, how is it integrated with Kubeflow? That's the main thing that introduction does. They don't really get much more than that. But I've taken what the app wrote or I've kind of merged together from their own websites and stuff like that. But these are the tools that were already on the list, but they were not at the top level of this section before. They were kind of nested under weird things, and they certainly didn't have links to their GitHub repos or their websites before. And so that's what this does. So really, I just need James or someone to approve it because it's more of a. So I think the purpose of this, by the way, if we're talking about from a community perspective, is to give an opportunity for these projects that integrate with Kubeflow to be marketed on the website as a first step towards more integration. Because they're already on the website, to be clear. I'm not adding anything new here.
I'm a little cautious with the warning in red, but I thought the language underneath the warning is fine. It's just the warning seems like
it just needs to be clear that these are separate projects to Kubeflow, and it's going to become more ambiguous as we keep adding more here.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's another besides warning, but okay.
I can put, yeah, it is a warning though. It's like understand that we're not gonna be able to support you if you have a problem with this here because this isn't actually part of the project.
Okay. What else?
So yeah, if James or someone is on the call, is James on the call? No. Okay. I'll ping him and ask him about that.
Would advisory be better than warning and maybe not be in red, but some other color that stands out? So instead of warning, it'd just be advisory notice, and then
I could make it just notice.
Yeah.
And then it probably does need to be red just based off there's only really two colors of the warnings that I can make.
I just caution with red because of accessibility issues. And red is not a color that is advised when if somebody is using accessibility tools to see things or read things. It's not often picked up the way you think it is. So just.
We do kind of use it in the rest of the website. Like if we were going to do that, we'd need to figure out a different way of representing all the other warnings on the website, which we could do, but I don't really know what the alternative would be.
Yeah, I was just pointing it out, something to think about.
No, you're good. You're good. I can make it notice if you want, because I agree. Warning might feel a little bit too strong.
Okay, let's go ahead.
One question, like, is it really a warning here? Like, I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, so we don't own those projects. We are not responsible for them. One of them could go do something incredibly racist or crazy, and we have absolutely no control of them. It's very important for users to understand that they shouldn't get angry at us if
Yes.
someone, yeah.
Like when I'm seeing the page, it is basically asking people not like to be very, very careful about it, right? I mean, that's not the intention that we want to have.
But you do
So
need to be very careful, right? Because those projects could be maintained by a single vendor. They could be like, we're not like, right, because we haven't got any kind of conformance or testing or other processes. Like, I'm guessing.
no, that's not true, right? For example, Kserve, they have a release for every Kubeflow release.
It's sad that Kserve lives under there. They're welcome to come back to the project if they want to. But right now they are a separate project.
Yeah, that is true, Matthew. But again, if you really think about it, they have a release for every Kubeflow. And
I totally understand, but I'm just saying that doesn't negate the fact that they are not part of Kubeflow.
So I'm trying to say it should not be a warning, right? I'm saying warning is basically because Kserve is also part of our Kubeflow manifest default installation.
And so are actually every other one on that list, by the way.
I think yeah, go ahead, Jenna.
No, Kserve is part of our default manifest installation when compared to any of the other things.
Most of the others on that list actually are also in the manifest repo, quite surprisingly.
No, I'm saying it is there the default customization file.
Well, I understand. But it really, Kserve is a confusing situation because we would love it if they would come back, but for now they are a separate project.
Oh.
It doesn't change the fact that they're external out on it, and since that is unlikely to change in the short term, and it needs to be more clear that that is a separate project, I think personally. But I agree that the word warning, and that's what we're saying, could be replaced with notice.
Something that you can definitely add that sentence here. I don't see any problem there, right? Like the same under warning what you have written there, it makes sense, right? To say that like it is not maintained by the Kubeflow project. Makes sense. But again, I'm saying like warning is a wrong signal to give to the community. Right?
Yeah, that's what
like,
we were talking about before as well. We said we'd make it notice.
Okay, we're gonna keep moving.
Yeah, just to quickly, just like I think like I also don't really I have a concern about this warning that Kubeflow community doesn't provide support.
Yep, we don't.
I mean, who is we, right? Like many people in the Kubeflow community maintain Kserve, right? Like I just think we need to be cautious about like what we say there.
Okay, to be clear, it says the Kubeflow project, and then it replaces the word with community. I can make it the Kubeflow project again on the other side of that sentence.
Yeah, because this sentence a little bit concerned me, to be honest. Like,
okay, I'll make it project. Yeah, sorry. So I did change the word from project to community there accidentally. So it should say, because I was using them interchangeably. But I agree that maybe that could be ambiguous in some languages other than English. So I'll put it as the projects are not owned by or maintained by the Kubeflow project. The Kubeflow project does not provide support for these add-ons. The problem was, the reason I didn't say the Kubeflow project was because the Kubeflow project could be conflated with the tool itself, and the Kubeflow tool itself does support it. If you know what I mean? So like the other way of saying it is actually worse, in a sense. That's the reason I didn't say it the other way.
yeah, I understand. I think maybe we should think about this more, because maybe we should just rephrase it to just, if you see any problems with this, you need to reach out to the project owners, right? Instead of saying that Kubeflow project just doesn't provide support, because I don't see any reason to say this for the end users, to be honest, right?
Well, no, it's just like the problem is it's on the Kubeflow website. The reason it's here is just like it needs to be kind of forceful. I agree that we can maybe reword it, that's fine. But the reason it's here is that it's on the Kubeflow website and it needs to be clear that it's not actually part of Kubeflow. Yeah, like everything on that list. You know what I mean? Like Feast is not part of Kubeflow, Elira is not part of Kubeflow, PentoML is definitely not part of Kubeflow, Selden is definitely not part of Kubeflow, ML Run is definitely not part of Kubeflow. You know what I mean? Like
I think this is a bigger issue that we need to get back to defining everything because we do not have clear definitions on what each of those mean. And it's probably a discussion that we're not going to hash out in this meeting or even before the holidays. But I
mean, I think we can get this merged before the holidays. So to be clear, all of these projects are actually listed on the website already. This is just giving them a top level page.
I get what you're saying. I mean, the definitions. I don't think we're going to solve the definitions issue because we've been skirting around the fact that we don't have clear definition for add-on components. What we don't have these clear definitions of one, what each of these are, and two, how you get to be listed as one of those. Everybody's confused about that.
So I think this PR is honestly the first step to fixing that, because what it does is it establishes kind of like a baseline for what we already had, which was because under these sections it says, you know, what is the tool, and then how does it integrate with Kubeflow. And so in most cases, in some cases it's really tight integration, like Queso. In other cases, it is the minimum is probably like, you know, they've produced Kubeflow pipelines stuff for it, you know.
I thought we were doing a good job of making the distinction between components and add-ons, but okay.
I think so too, honestly. Like what I'm saying is, so I think I would love to get this merged because it also adds the links to our components on the things. So anything that can make us more acceptable to merge, like I agree, let's make it not warning, and I'll try and find a wording that doesn't imply that members of the community aren't supporting it, whereas the community as a whole doesn't. You know what I mean? That's what your concern is, Andre, right?
Yeah, let's maybe have a follow-up next week. I think we need more time, but to be like very cautious.
Yeah. I doubt anyone will review it, but if on the off chance that someone does, then yep, I'll respond.
All right, sure.
Hey, we're over time, but I do think that there's something that the steering committee needs to push the Google folks on, which is the ownership of the intellectual property. And I don't think that we have an update on this, but we need to get one. Included in this, in my opinion, would be, you know, who owns the management of the website, well, maybe the website isn't as much, but the YouTube and the Twitter and some of the other social things. I'd like to be able to see that those are opened up to folks outside of Google. So we're going to need people to potentially step up and manage these if we're going to ask Google to give up the keys to some of these things, or we're going to move them to a different system, which I don't think we're going to move YouTube or Twitter, but maybe the analytics on the website.
That's already moved. The analytics on the website's already moved.
So the reason why I'm interested in getting some of the website analytics is so we can start to report that back to folks, especially David and the release team, so they can see, you know, how many people are kind of watching what they're producing.
So to be clear, the CNCF now has complete control over the analytics, because the old ones weren't even working. So we're now on the main CNCF analytics tracker thing. So so because of privacy reasons, you do have to reach out to them directly to get reports, but you can do that.
Wonderful. So when you say you can do that, who's you in that case?
Well, I don't know. In your case, you can clearly do it because you're on the steering committee, but like other people probably can't as easily. But but as a project, I think we should publish them publicly, maybe, or because, you know, it's an open source project, and our whole thing is transparency. So
So who in the CNCF do we reach out to get these analytics?
Let me just, so I'm
I would-
imagining the person who
Go
helped
ahead.
us did the change.
Josh, do you have a direct contact with Amy? I would reach out to her and she can get you to the right people.
So there's a specific person, let me just get it. Who actually did the transition for us. Like he actually moved he had the code that we could add to the website. Let me just
He's from Google?
no. Yeah, he's from CNCF.
Okay, so anyway, I'd like to get this on next week's meeting or the week after, is somehow we get some of those analytics snapshotted.
Yeah, it's this. I've put a link here to the PR which updated it. Let me just link it for you.
Okay.
This is the PR which updated it, and so that person, I imagine, is the right person to reach out to.
Okay, fantastic. I think that would be helpful for everybody. Okay, great. Hopefully we can get this kind of closed up on this meeting today. We've been running longer on these. Anything else, Matthew?
Just can I mention like 32 minutes about Spark? Sorry, like
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
no. Mike, you want to say something?
No, yeah. So I'm just saying, I'll update the PR to be to change that warning, and I'll ping people for review. But if not, then we'll discuss it again next week.
Sure. Thank you, Matthew. So yeah, from the Spark side, like we're still kind of like waiting for the final, votes from the contributors and also from steering committee. I think, Josh, what we need to do, like what we probably need to do here, like we're still waiting for the comments from the community. I didn't get any comments from anyone else. Like I'm actually asking AWS like what are the results there and how we can move forward. But do you think we should do anything right now in terms of the updates and how to donate this moving forward?
So
wasn't there a little bit of discussion around the Apache thing? Have we resolved that?
Yeah, so we didn't resolve this. Like as I said, like last week, I think this will be probably like the long-term plan from the Spark community. But this is more for like a multi-year plan of how people use Spark and Kubernetes. And we still need to find a place for this operator to be supported because many customers use this operator in production. Which means like, I think Kubeflow could be like the good place for the customers to use this operator and to contribute right back.
Well, I think we all agree on that. It's just so just making sure that everything is in order and the steering committee is happy. I think that's probably the main question for us. Like, assuming we're not stepping on this Apache Foundation's toe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, we won't say this operator will be official Spark operator because we can't say this, right? Look into the Apache, like the guidelines. We just can say like this is the the alternative that people are using
Or
right now.
we could even say the word standard because it is the standard, right?
Mm-hmm. It's the most popular operator, yes, which is used right now from the open source, basically.
I think that messaging is super important. I think standard is fine or some other term, but just making sure folks know that the code that may end up in Kubeflow is something that is like currently used and people need, and like there is a larger population using that than the official operator that they're trying to bring up in the next 6 months, right? So
yeah, there's clearly more people using something that exists than doesn't exist yet.
Exactly right. I think just making sure folks understand that, so they don't like think that there's no home for this thing, or that there's anything coming and they should be like trying to like only focus on that. I think the messaging here, I think, is super important in my opinion. But go ahead, Andres.
Yeah, that's right. Like, what should be the next step, Josh? You think like we because the Marcin, like the Marcin from Google, he's waiting for our like final reply. AWS folks, I think they're not on the call right now, but I like already mentioned, like ask them in Slack what is the next step.
So from community standpoint, we are going to accept the code and put it into a Kubeflow based repo.
Yep.
And we as a Kubeflow community are going to run some form of meeting to support users.
I think we're going to establish a new working group for that new code because we have
Yeah,
to.
that is why I kind of like try to push to unify model registry and Spark to the one working group data to see more attendance on the calls and just to, because they kind of like, from my understanding, the scope of this working group, yeah.
My proposal is that you still keep them separate working groups, but you have them have the same meeting time.
I just don't see a value, to be honest, like to have them separate working group, but we
They're
can
just
discuss.
not the same thing. Like model registries are just absolutely nothing to do with data processing.
I understand, but I mean, this is debatable, you know. We can like name it like, you know, data processing or something else, right? Or it should be the naming there. But
my proposal is that we make a distributed data or something, like something to that effect. Distributed data working group, which doesn't really align with model registries. Because the reason is like I want to put Ray and Spark and other things like Flink under that distributed processing. Whereas whereas the model registry is the model registry, right? That's its own thing, right? Like it's and it might be the same people. It's like I just don't want to say that. I don't want to conflate the fact that it could be the same people, which is great. It means that they can have a meeting at the same time and then they can still be productive. But from like a governance perspective, I'd like to see it as two different working groups.
yeah, I mean, I think we need to discuss this during the model registry call. Like, we just need to see the value of having separate working group for model registry. And
well, to be clear, we don't have a model registry right now, and it's unclear whether we ever will. So let's start with what we have right now, which will be, as after this donation, will be Spark operator.
Yeah.
So we need a working group to be created, name TBD, and we need to add a repo that will hold code. And we're going to support it for some period.
We can even just call it the Spark working group, to be honest. Like it doesn't need to be something fancy initially.
Yeah, I don't know, like, to be honest, like from my understanding, we need to like name the working group more like, you know, wider, like make it wider, like similar to what to do with AutoML and training, right? The new project can be like training operator, but we maintain API and training operator separately, right? There is not a case for the pipelines, for example, right? Because they maintain the KFP. But I think the working group is similar to like Kubernetes 6, right? Like under the runtime, there are several projects in the CNCF, right? So we need to think the same way, but from the ML perspective, right? Not from
we also have this requirement that working groups own code, and we have to think about like what the likely code they could theoretically own is in the future. And like Ray and stuff, there's a possibility of donation maybe, but outside of that,
but Ray is not part of Kubeflow, right?
I understand, but there's a non-zero. I'm not saying it's likely, but I'm just saying there's a non-zero chance it could theoretically become part of Kubeflow or the CNCF in the future. Whereas something like Flink is never going to become part of it. Something like MLflow is never going to become part of it. Anyway, the point is, like, I think there's this secondary kind of group of like, you know, SIG, if we're going to use that other word, for like, for the integrations between Kubeflow and other things, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if you have any kind of like the guidelines the working group have to, like they have to own the code under Kubeflow GitHub org. Like I don't remember if we have these guidelines.
That is definitely on the requirement for the working groups, and the SIGs were the opposite, which was that they are just any other collection of users or things. Like working groups have to own code. They literally not like there's even a validation check, I believe, that says that if you try and merge a PR that creates a working group in the community repo that doesn't specify a Git repo, I think it denies the PR.
Yeah, I think we can just like, you know, have a follow up on this. I think it's not urgent, to be honest. I think the urgent thing is just to find like the commitment from the steering committee and also like from the contributors, like from AWS, from Google, and from Apple, right? To make a commitment to move this forward, right? And
I guess the three tasks are move the repo under the org, which requires two previous steps, which is defining the owners file, the root owners. Like, so we need to get that list of root owners and their GitHub accounts. Define the list of root owners. Get Google to agree to the transfer. Well, no, get us to agree to the transfer first. So have the steering committee approve. Steering committee approves. And then after that, Google does the transfer. And then after that, working group is formed. That's my kind of step lines, if anyone thinks. Steering committee approves, Google transfers the repo.
Josh, do you want to say something? I was noticed you want to say something there, no?
I just want to make steps.
He's typing.
I think these,
And we migrate, WG is formed. And then, so Google approves and executes the transfer, or do we want to do the transfer of the org after the working group or before? Yeah.
I think we need to start this before, because like once Marcin received the final feedback from us, he will start the conversation with the legal team. About transferring, right?
Is there any other steps there that you think under?
Yeah, like I kind of like outlined them in the migration section in the doc, but there are no like urgent. I think the urgent thing that just discussed with the legal how we can transfer the repo, because we don't want to do the fork. We want to save the history.
Oh yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I will do it next week. I will provide update next week once I have feedback from AWS and from our side as well. So,
Okay.
so
Let's
So
see if
that
we,
first step for you is getting that list of root owners, and that's pretty simple, right? That should be relatively straightforward.
we already have a list of owners in the doc. Like we already have a list
Okay.
of maintainers.
And have we got commitments from all of them to be?
I just need to have a final commitment from them. I think like AWS folks asked me to have few weeks before final agreement. Yeah. But I will let you know next week. Give me 1 more week, please.
okay, fantastic. Thank you for that update. I think it was a very successful meeting today. Got a lot done. Hopefully, we're again 17 minutes over time. Hopefully this was helpful. Anything else before we close out? Okay. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Mike. See you soon. See you, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.
Gamer.